You're soft. Compared to almost everything else that has ever lived on this planet, you are laughably, embarrassingly soft. No claws, no venom, no speed, no armor. A lion can outrun you in seconds. A gorilla can crush you with one hand. A crocodile has barely changed in 200 million years because nothing has needed to kill it. And yet here you are, the last human standing. Not just surviving, dominating. Every other human species that ever walked this earth is gone. Every single one. And the answer to why you are still here while they are not has almost nothing to do with being the strongest. It has everything to do with something far stranger. Let's go back, way back. Around 300,000 years ago, this planet was crowded with humans. Not just your kind. There were Neanderthals in Europe, stocky, powerful, cold-adapted, with brains as large as yours. There were Denisovans spread across Asia whose DNA we are still only beginning to understand. There was Homo erectus, who had already survived for nearly 2 million years. There was Homo lunasiensis in the Philippines, Homo floresiensis on the island of Flores. Tiny, resourceful, tenacious. The world did not have one human species, it had several, and most of them were, by any physical measure, better equipped than you. So what happened? Paleoanthropologist Brian Vilmore, who has spent years excavating the fossil record in Ethiopia, puts it plainly. Human evolution is not a straight line. It is a tree, branches splitting, diverging, going quiet. And one by one, every branch but yours went silent. The Neanderthals disappeared around 40,000 years ago. Homo floresiensis vanished around the same time. The Denisovans faded. Homo erectus, after nearly 2 million years on Earth, was gone. And your ancestors kept walking. Here is the part that most people get wrong. They assume you won because you were smarter, and that is only partly true. Your brain is not dramatically larger than a Neanderthal's. In some cases, it was smaller. Neanderthals made tools. They buried their dead. There's evidence they used pigment, possibly for art. They were not dull creatures stumbling through the dark. So intelligence alone is not the answer. The real answer is stranger, and it lives not in your skull, but in your throat. Around 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, something shifted in the way your ancestors communicated. Not just sounds. Every animal makes sounds. What changed was the ability to build sentences that described things that did not exist. Not just the mammoth standing 20 feet away, but the mammoth that might be standing behind that ridge next Tuesday, the rival clan that lives 3 days east, the spirit that your grandmother said watches over the river. This is what linguist and cognitive scientist Daniel Everett calls the capacity for displacement, language that reaches beyond the immediate moment into the past, the future, and the entirely fictional. And that fictional capacity changed everything, because the moment your ancestors could talk about things that were not real, they could coordinate on a scale that no other species ever had. Not just 10 people hunting together, not just a family group sharing a cave. Hundreds of strangers organized around shared beliefs, shared stories, shared rules they had never physically enforced. Anthropologists call this the cognitive revolution, the point at which Homo sapiens stopped being just another animal and became something genuinely new, not because of muscle, because of myth. Think about what a myth actually is. It's a story that enough people believe to act on. Your ancestors used myths the way you use laws. Believe in the same river god, and suddenly 2 villages who have never met will trade peacefully. Believe in the same ancestor, and suddenly 100 hunters will coordinate an attack on prey no small group could take down alone. Believe in the same set of rules, and suddenly you have something no Neanderthal band ever built. You have a society. And here's the cruel calculus of extinction. A Neanderthal group might number 30 to 50 individuals, tight, kin-based, physically capable. But your ancestors were building networks of hundreds, then thousands, not because any one of them was stronger, because all of them shared the same story. When those 2 kinds of humans met, and they did meet, you carry roughly 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA as the fossil evidence. The Neanderthals were not outfought. They were out-networked. There's something even more unsettling buried here. The things that gave your ancestors this edge, the stories, the myths, the shared fictions, they haven't gone away. They have simply changed costume. The corporation you work for is a shared fiction. The currency in your pocket is a shared fiction. The nation printed on your passport is a shared fiction. None of these things exist in nature. You cannot find a corporation in the wild. You cannot stumble across a border while walking through a forest. These are all stories that enough people believe in to act on, and they are in structure exactly the same cognitive technology your ancestors used to outlast every other human on Earth. You are not the strongest animal. You are not the fastest. You are not even by many measures the most individually intelligent creature that has ever lived. But you are the only animal that can convince 1,000,000 strangers to follow the same invisible rules. You are the only animal that can build a cathedral, launch a war, or organize a trade route based entirely on something no one can touch. Neanderthals looked at the world and saw what was. Your ancestors looked at the world and saw what could be believed. And that gap, that small, strange gap between the real and the imagined, is the entire distance between extinction and here. Tonight, when you scroll through a feed of strangers arguing passionately about ideas, institutions, and invisible forces, remember that you are not watching people waste time. You are watching the same ancient machinery that kept your line alive while every other went quiet. The story is still running. You are still inside it.